Hello and good evening to all of you around the world. The penultimate round of Season 6 brings us to one of the most unpredictable circuits on the calendar. We're at the Charlotte Roval, and it's a track that blends high-speed oval sections with tight infield corners, and one that's infamous in NASCAR for chaos, drama and razor-thin margins. Last time out on the streets of Toronto, Zach Swader reigned supreme, a brilliant victory that reignited his title hopes, but Christian Vrazilov still holds the championship lead, and as we enter the final stretch, the pressure is higher than ever. Now, anyone within the top 5 is still realistically in contention, but the margin, Josh, is practically zero.
Absolutely, Toby. It's certainly shaping up, and plenty of drama unfolding throughout this whole season as we come into the penultimate round. It's still all to play for.
Absolutely. Like we said, for some this could be the night the championship dream slips away. For others, it's the perfect chance to put themselves into the lead. And on a circuit that never fails to deliver chaos, expect nothing less than fireworks here at Charlotte. And Josh, I believe you've been doing some homework.
Thank you very much, Toby. So here we are, everyone. Start your engines and grab yourself a slice. Welcome to the Charlotte Motor Speedway, America's home for racing. Of course, this is where speed and tradition are born in the heart of NASCAR country. In 1960, this place was all about spectacle. It has, of course, hosted the legendary Coca-Cola 600, which is 600 miles of racing, for those who don't know. And it is also home to 37,000 slices of pizza, which are consumed over a race weekend. Interestingly as well, it was also the first circuit to have night racing. So back in 1992, it was deemed the original one hot night. Of course, for our drivers, this circuit has plenty of challenges with the crazy Roval. 17 unique turns, 2.28 miles long, and is a hybrid of oval and technical course. So the car setups here, Toby, are going to be a total headache. Do you tune it for the fast banks or the tight turns? Crew chiefs are going to be losing sleep over it, and the team managers equally so.
It absolutely is, and the title battle you do not want to miss either begins with Joshua Wood qualifying 22 and last, and Callum Spencer lines up alongside him in P21. Ola Vodvan is a title contender. He has it all to do today from P20 on the grid. Tom McDonald lines up P18 alongside Douglas Anderson, who had a tough weekend in Toronto. He'll want to bounce back from 17th. Next to them is Colin McAllister and Andrew Pavia just ahead. Marcus Townend, another title contender, starts in a lowly P14. He's alongside race winner Reinhard Ecker. Then it's Gareth Lennon also in the conversation. He's P12 alongside race winner and hometown man Philip Blum. Craig McDonald starts in the top 10, and Craig Evans lines up alongside in P9. Zach Swader won last time out. He has it all to do from P8 today. He's alongside Josh Martin for Simstaff. Jack Tolchard crashed out and effectively ended his title hopes in his rookie season. He will line up P6 alongside Byrne in P5. Then it's Jonathan Carrera of P4, best result in a while, alongside Emphasis Racing's Christopher Petterson. Christian Vrazilov, though, doing everything correct once again, and Ed Cantwell takes another pole position in the ISR AIC in search for his maiden victory. And now it's hard to place your cards against Christian Vrazilov here today. He's clearly been the man in form just recently, Josh, and he will be looking to see if he can do it all here at the Charlotte Roval. He'll need to get past Ed Cantwell though. Zach Swader will need to make some moves, as will the other in the top 5. Lights out, and away we go then for the chaos that is surely going to ensue here at the Charlotte Roval, and Ed Cantwell gets the perfect start into the chicane, but it looks like we have some cars in the background going side by side already. Side by side action for Jonathan Carrera. He's alongside Toby Byrne, trying to go all the way around the outside. The Brit trying to make a move early on the very first lap, coming into the start finish straight. Looks like Vrazilov looking attentive on the inside there, but nothing doing, and Carrera trying to go around the outside. Still side by side action between these two as they thunder down into turn 1, and we have a virtual safety car being called immediately. And we said this race, Josh, is going to promote some chaos, but these boys are well underway and everything is suspended.
That's it. It's got to be a season record for a virtual safety car there, Toby. And of course, plenty of drama unfolding. These tight chicanes. Two cars cannot go into one. We see Oliver Odvin there certainly struggling, and back to the pits as well. So not looking great for him. And see Josh Wood is also off to the side and back to the pits as well. So hopefully we'll get a replay there of what's happened, Toby. But not a good start for those guys. It's the end of the season. Points make prizes, and it's not how you want your race to be ending on lap 1.
4, 3.
After a brief
2,
hiatus, then
1.
the boys are back to racing. Green flag once again, and a little bit of a gap has formed between the top 3 and Byrne and Carrera ahead after their first lap melee, and it is Cantwell leading the way. Important to note this, Josh, Cantwell has started on the medium compounder tyre, so Vrazilov by all means will have the grip advantage in the early stages of the race, but watch out for Cantwell's strategy later on this afternoon. He theoretically should be able to go longer than these two behind him. They will really need to get a move on if they want to sort this out nice and early, but meanwhile in the background we can see Byrne is still leading away from Carrera, who's making gains, but Vrazilov in the slipstream on the banking as we come round for the first time as the engines scream past us. Carrera very much all over the back of Byrne, still looking, and everyone being a little bit cautious. I think everyone's been startled a little bit by a virtual safety car being out so early, but you have to admit, Josh, a lot of these drivers now should be thinking about these title scenarios. They should be thinking that, okay, we're at the business end, every point matters.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that in the tyre strategy that's being picked today. Vrazilov obviously jumping onto the soft, with Pedersen and Byrne also doing the same. And as we've seen throughout the season, those mediums can take a bit longer to warm up, kind of get up to temperature and into the zone. So particularly through the chicanes, we'll probably see the drivers checking up just a little bit. And yeah, it's all very much to play for here, depending on what you can do. Byrne obviously tucking nicely there. So Swader's gone past Martin, I think, just further down, the other driver on the medium tyres. And like we said, Toby, in the intro, this track obviously then has that banking. As you see Christian get a little bit loose there, he's going to be under pressure from Pedersen, and with the slipstream that comes with that, if you can get a good one here, you can really maximise it and then cover yourself off as you come into the infield section. So really a track, a tale of two halves, and all about just picking your right moment for the overtake.
It is a very short and action-filled lap here around at the Charlotte Roval, but yes, Zach Swader, you mentioned, they were pulling off an important move on Josh Martin and getting himself up into P7. That's important for his title hopes this season. We can see some more moves were happening there. I think that was Evans getting passed by Tom McDonnell, who's moved up into P9. You can see Lennon is just on the fringes of points as well. He's in the conversation, so it'll be interesting to see. Now, Team Disconnect have won a race already this season. They know how to play. Another virtual safety. And Christian Vrazilov brushing up against the wall there, and I think he'll be thankful for a tactical timeout under the virtual safety car as he makes a little bit of a mistake heading into turn 1. But we have another virtual safety car. Marcus Townend is out of the race. Another title contender is out of the race as we watch replays from the start, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see there one of the JSR cars looked like he was getting pretty close as they checked up too wide by wide. And obviously with the curbs here, you got to be careful, particularly on lap 1. Don't want to be causing any damage to suspension. We see all the sparks coming off the back of these cars. Absolutely beautiful. We see Philip Blum there making contact with the wall, and that potentially is what caused the issue. I'm seeing a lot of flames coming out the back, so potentially damage the gearbox and then consequently the engine, and that becomes a bit of a sitting duck for everybody. You can see a few cars getting past there on the outside, but yeah, not a great result there for Philip. And a bit of contact as well, so not a great result for him. One thing having the engine go, another thing crashing into competitor.
We mentioned that might be the season record for the first virtual safety car. That might be the season record for the fastest engine failure we've seen. Marcus Townend is... a huge accident for Marcus Townend. I'm not sure who was riding on board there, but that's how he's out of the race, and understandably that's why we're under safety car. That is a huge wreck. That is potentially the biggest wreck, Josh, we have seen so far this season, and wow, just a connection with, I'm guessing, a little part of the barrier that stuck out, and that is huge, and that is an absolutely spectacular way to potentially exit the title battle.
Absolutely, as they say in NASCAR, that was the big one, and you can see there the rear end getting a bit loose, and he just gets flung right across. Quite a bit of airtime being handled there, so his spine is probably not going to be thanking him, and then collides into the other side of the wall. Thankfully, it doesn't take anybody else out on the way with him, but what a slow-mo shot that is, Toby. That is quite spectacular, that explosion.
That is a very picturesque view of how we could describe, when we look back on this, how Marcus Townend's season came to a close, and that is one title contender potentially out of the title battle. We had Jack Tolchard fall victim last weekend. He's on for a better weekend today, but I'm not sure if it's enough. But Marcus Townend making an exit in spectacular fashion, at least from the US Grand Prix. We'll see the ramifications of that, obviously, depending on where everyone else finishes today. But this is potentially the pressure that the likes of championship leader Christian Vrazilov is under, and the championship pressure that is perhaps propelling Zach Swader in P7 to try get a move on and try close this gap, because Vrazilov is leading the way. Swader needs to be gaining on him, Josh, not necessarily falling further behind.
Absolutely, and I mean, we saw this last season, last-minute attempts can help, particularly even in the last race. So Christian obviously moving teams at the start of this season, got a lot to prove, and in particular fashion going to be certainly doing that if he can win the driver's titles. So a great start for him, and of course the drivers just needing to maximise their tyres as long as they can. Those softs are going to start going off, and you will see that as they start to slide around. We saw a lot of that obviously back out in Canada, the drivers really struggling, so even a light pit stop here can make all the difference. You've got the slipstream to pull you around, and as long as you can keep in that train, there's still plenty to be playing for. Just going down the rest of the field, not too much happening, everyone kind of just getting into a steady rhythm, keeping their pace there. NLR having a good outing obviously compared to last time round, yeah, looking pretty steady all things around at the moment, Toby.
Yeah, just to divert to Ed Cantwell, who's currently leading this race. He obviously joined us in Season 5 alongside reigning champion Kevin Jacobs, and he quite comfortably put Kevin Jacobs to bed, didn't he? I think Kevin Jacobs did take a pole position in Mugello, but it was Ed Cantwell who otherwise was the big points hauler, so it was quite a surprise to me earlier this season when it was Reinhard Ecker who dominated his home Grand Prix to take the victory in Austria, and Ed Cantwell hadn't really been anywhere since round 1, so I think we're finally seeing what can happen when Ed Cantwell puts it all together and he puts himself into a good qualifying position, because we saw he was very quick and challenging for the win in Queensland Raceway round 1, but we've not really heard much from Ed ever since, and this could be his opportunity to get a win on the board. But if you're a Vrazilov supporter, if you're in the barracks of ART, you are wanting that fairy tale to not come to fruition, because Christian Vrazilov getting a victory here today, Josh, could be huge. It could be the title slam dunk depending on what happens to Sweder, because I think Sweder is the only man within the top 5 other than Vrazilov who's currently scoring points.
Absolutely, and I'm just looking there, you can see Sweder set the fastest lap. A few drivers there, I think 5th, 6th and 7th all just passing the baton down the line. So like we said, you can get quite a benefit from the slipstream around here, and hopefully he can use that to his advantage. Obviously his teammate being a bit further back, so we have Vrazilov having a look at the inside of Cantwell. Cantwell's gone wide, and Vrazilov's going to be all over the back of him. They're going side by side here as they come up towards the apex of the next corner, and Christian's up the inside, looking so close. Cantwell's going to hold it wide, he's got the grip on those medium tyres, and Christian gets through, and also Byrne looks like he's having a sniff there. Oh, this is getting so close again. He's now going to have the left-hander now, get that cut back, get into the slipstream. Cantwell having to defend it. We see Burns collided with the wall, which can put Pedersen in potential here to get past, and it's all checking up, Toby. We've suddenly got a straightaway where it could be anybody who takes the lead by the end of it.
Absolutely, and we was just talking about these potential ramifications if it finishes as we currently stand. Vrazilov will enter the final with a 24-point lead. That is potentially, Josh, an entire race victory of a gap ahead of Zach Sweder, which would effectively be the slam dunk unless the unthinkable happened next time out in Sao Paulo. It's a huge move for the Bulgarian to assert himself into the lead of this race. Fantastic opportunistic racing from Christian Vrazilov, taking advantage of a mistake made by Ed Cantwell. What an unfortunate error. The man who was controlling the race on the better compound to be on at this stage has made a mistake, and he's now going to be wasting those fresh mediums behind Christian Vrazilov. Will he be able to strike back? Let's find out and see. Zach Sweder, I wonder if he's been relayed this information, because I'm not sure if it'd be a good idea to relay it to motivate him, or just keep quiet so he doesn't lose his head and make any rash moves. But Zach Sweder needs desperately to start making moves now, and if you're anyone like Gareth Lennon on the fringes of the points, you really need to get a move on. You really need to get in this conversation again. And there we can see Zach Sweder is getting the move on. Maybe he's had the call. He's looking to the inside of Jack Tolchard, who was almost free abreast coming into the infield there. Zach Sweder looking to go up the inside and make another position around the outside of Zach Tolchard. No, good little bit of contact for Zach Sweder. It's going to try and set him up onto the banking to get a better run at the Brit ahead, who exited the championship battle last time out, but nothing doing. It's a stern defence from the Brit, but we certainly saw a difference there, Josh, an increase, I would say, in the aggression from Zach following Vrazilov's move.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that contact has cost him. He's dropping like a stone in the straightaways there, the gap to Martin behind. So a bit of a sim staff sandwich going on there for the Northern Lights Racing driver. And you're spot on. Cantwell had control of the race, having those medium tyres. He can manage the heat cycles, and a contact like that is just going to cost him massively. So we can see here as we ride on board with Kevin Jacobs, just chasing along there on the straightaway. We can obviously see this is where all the drama unfolded. A massive lock-up and straight into the barrier there. So a huge hit for the Nemesis Racing driver, not what he wants. And looks like the suspension's definitely gone. We've seen drivers try to nurse it back before and cause drama, particularly last time out. But is he going to be able to do it? I don't think so. He might just have to pull that to the side. I'm sure the team are going to be encouraging him to bring the car back, but safety has to be factored here, especially the high speeds on this Roval. As we see Callum Spencer now, a little bit of a follow-on behind, and yeah, I see that lock-up just the car just not hanging out. Those dirty marbles cause such an impact on the drivers, and even when you're going on the banking, trying to go side by side, you got to be careful that you don't come into the braking zone with all that dirt on them. As we see Byrne now having a bit of a look at Cantwell, as I was saying, corking the bottle it now seems, so it's all to play for as these soft tyre runners get the move on, really.
Oh, Byrne's around. Byrne has
safety
spun.
car
He's made a very
effective
similar mistake to
in
Cantwell, and he's
4,
just spun off the
3,
road and he's into
2,
the barriers.
1.
What a disaster
Virtual
for Toby
safety
Byrne. It
car
has
in
been
effect.
quite a
Full course
miserable
yellow.
season for him since his victory in New Zealand, and it looks like this could have been his first serious points. It will be nothing, though, for the Beechwood Team RN man, and that's a double DNF, Josh, for the team that were in the title Constructors Championship. If I can get my words out, they were in contention for the title of the Constructors Championship. That looks like it's all gone to pot, and here is how it happened. He's just behind Ed Cantwell. He's got caught out with a bit of understeer. He's gone wide, got the marbles, and as he's tried to get on the power, he's just spun the rear end, he's lit the rears up, and contact with the wall, and yeah, he is out, and that looked like it was going to be his first decent result in quite a considerable amount of time, because he just goes wide. That will make the dirty tyres really play an effect here. He tries to get back on the power, and around he goes.
Absolutely, yeah. Big shame there for the Beechwood team, because it's not just the points lost today, but it's the gaps that then extend in the championship as a result of that. So, yeah, Toby not happy for sure. As we saw, Kevin Jacobs did come into the pits. It looks like he's back on his way, which is encouraging. So, great to see that they're going to continue going on now. And yeah, now the question really for me is all about Cantwell, Toby. I mean, what would you do if you're in his position? Do you pit? Do you go for that softer rubber and try and make the most of it? Or are you just going to have to hang it out? As we see, Carrera on the inside is going rather slowly, and he's been passed by Tolchard. He's got Swader coming right up behind him. It looks like he's going to make another move as well. And he's into the pits. That would explain why there, Toby. So, yes, if you're in Cantwell's position, what would you be doing at the moment?
It's very tricky. I think we just saw a glimpse there, of two cars going side by side. I think it was Evans and Eka are going side by side into turn one. We can just see Craig's on the inside, Eka on the outside. I'm not sure who is trying to make the move on who here, but Eka is staying ahead at the time being. He's now under a little bit of pressure from Gareth Lennon behind as we have these pit stops beginning to occur. And it's a very interesting question that you mentioned in terms of, Gareth Lennon has done the same mistake as Bird. Oh, and he's just held on to the slide this time, but he has conceded a place to his teammate. Colin McAllister moves up into P8, and that's another big error for a title contender in the form of Gareth Lennon, who loses needless points to his teammate. I suppose it's a silver lining that it is only his teammate and not a direct rival, but still a frustrating mistake from the Northern Irishman, I'm sure. In terms of the strategy with Ed Cantwell, yes, it doesn't look like these mediums are really coming to him, does it? It actually looks like he's dropping back from Vrazilov. It feels like Vrazilov's very much in the groove at the moment. He's extending the gap lap on lap, so I think it's time to call defeat and just try get on some level footing with Vrazilov at the moment, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're going to have kind of two groups now. So where those stops have been made, a lot of the drivers going onto the hard tyres, so going to the end with that, really extending it as much as they can. And we see Tolchard there and Cantwell, so a few pit changes there as we can see. But yeah, absolutely, if you're going on these hard tyres, you're expecting them to go to the end. We see Colin McAllister perhaps making the most of that move on Lennon to try and give his teammate a bit of help here, see if he can cause some drama. Obviously, he's been going a bit quicker than Evans ahead of him, and potentially trying to play the team game here, even if it was masquerading as the driver's game. So Colin obviously still feeling that those softs have got plenty of life in them, just over 3/10 to the car ahead. And Craig now really has to be careful. We've seen so many drivers going wide through this corner with the understeer. He seems to have kept it well together. See a big slide from McAllister there, and Craig really now got to see what he can do to hold not just one but two teammates back.
Tom McDonnell looking to make a move on Gareth Lennon up the inside for the Macca Motorsport driver. He was following this pack from quite a distance, and it looks like he's now coming into play, but no, a little bit of understeer, not really. And a big lockup as well, making a mistake and clipping the wall. We have a virtual safety car being called. I'm not sure what the reason it's for. I'm sure it's not for that. It was just a small blaze against the wall.
Virtual safety car in effect.
Surely happening further on the circuit. Virtual safety car called, and this will benefit anyone who has yet to pit, of course, because they will not be able to go flat out to reduce that gap. So if you're Tolchard, Evans, McAllister, Lennon, McDonnell, etc., this will benefit you. And was right on board with Josh Martin. This could be the reason for the virtual safety car. This is Zach Swader by the looks of things, just popping out ahead of us. So I hope there's no contact between these two, because that would be huge for the title. And it looks like, again, going wide. Everyone's going wide in this corner. And identical, Josh, absolutely identical to Byrne. But instead of going into the barrier, he's spun around on the outside. I'm quite surprised he'd not be able to get that going. So maybe it's more of a mechanical gremlin on the suspension or something at play there, if that has DNF'd him from the race, which it has. So very interesting on that front, but that was identical.
Virtual
And that
safety
corner,
car
that
ending
dip,
in
Josh, is proving to be a real pain for
4,
some of the drivers.
3,
Yeah,
2,
absolutely. It's a kind of circuit
1.
where you have to balance the
Virtual
infield
safety
with
car
those
ended.
faster outfield
Green
sections that we
flag.
say. So, stuff like suspension, wing levels are all going to be variable here, and what works for one half of the track may not work for the second half there. As we see, Ed Cantwell gets a great start off the back of the virtual safety car, pulling out quite the gap to Brasilov behind him, which is what he needs to do. Tolchard now obviously leading the race, not yet pitted, so he'll be hanging on for dear life with those softs, seeing how far they can go. And Swader has still got the fastest lap, as we saw, so very much looking like a man on a mission. And of course, the USA being home to a few races over the past few years, McDonald having a very successful time out before, and of course Byrne, one of the veterans of the season, having a great result as well. So yeah, Toby, it's kind of a circuit that, ultimately we see our front runners at the front like we would expect, but it can throw up a few curveballs depending on the track or even how the drivers are feeling in the car on the day.
Yeah, I think Ed Cantwell has passed Razalov in the pit lane. He was ahead, wasn't he, Razalov, going into those pits? So the Team Disconnect boys looks like they've been able to get Razalov's, it's got Cantwell serviced ahead of Razalov. I'm not sure. They both pitted on the same lap, so there's no overcut-undercut scenario, but Ed Cantwell has found himself ahead of Razalov again, and he has to do that work again, which is big, because this, again, is a good situation for Zach Swader, because it's suddenly reduced that deficit of going in 24 points into the final round, with a gap to build to significantly less than that. So Razalov will be frustrated and looking to rectify that. Want to shout out for Christopher Pettersson, however, has had a miserable season, and he's challenging for a podium position at the moment. So Nemesis Racing could be on for their first big result in quite some time, and it's quite an interesting scenario, because this, I don't know if you'll remember, Josh, but in Season 5 was the same thing. Christopher Pettersson and Nemesis Racing Team struggled all season. We got to Road America, and suddenly he was challenging for the victory. So maybe something about, like you said, there's 37,000 slices of pizza that get consumed on a NASCAR weekend here. Maybe it's something more like the IKEA Swedish meatballs in the Nemesis Racing Team, because he's really performing well stateside, and he's up in P6 at the moment, but that is a net P3, and that could be Nemesis Racing's first podium, certainly of the season, and definitely the first podium since Season 5. And what a team that dominated Season number 4, and it's really quite a shame to see him struggling in such straights so far this year, Josh.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what weighs more, Toby, 30,000 slices of pizza or meatballs, but he certainly seems to be getting a move on, so it's working for him, whatever the case is. And of course, he's got Coureur behind him, JSR, one of the most successful teams, I think, in the history of the seasons, or the overall championship, I should say. So, yeah, Pettersson really having a good race here, and now obviously with Campbell getting past Razalov, he's got kind of a second run at being able to keep everyone behind him. He obviously had that mistake and nursing a little bit of damage we saw earlier on, clipping the outside walls. So it's all to play for him, and like you say, once the front runners get into the pits and out of the way, as I see Tolchard is in the pits now, really it's clean air and just lights to the finish. There's not much else that he can do. As long as he doesn't make another mistake, then he can keep Christian behind. We saw that he was able to do that for the first sort of few laps of the race, and just shows that once they get into rhythm, the drivers are very much on it. So plenty going on, and yeah, some great shakers and movers going on as well throughout the field.
Absolutely. So we have the boys who are going very long on their pit stops coming into the pit lane now. And we said, oh wow, is that Jack Tolchard slotting out into this battle? Could Jack Tolchard be putting himself around the outside of Christian Razalov? But he won't have the tyre temp yet. There's no tyre blankets this season, so he will be out on the cold rubber, and that has cost him potentially 2 places. Tolchard will have to settle for P4. But wow, what a strategy from Simstaff, because he's Zach Swader in the background, looking to make an important move for his championship chances. He's going up the inside of Jonathan Carrera. Jonathan Carrera, will he fight that back? Yes, he will. Up the inside, side by side for the Americans, former teammates, of course, and contact with a barrier once again for Zach Swader. He's really playing dare with this suspension, but I suppose he has to give it everything to give himself a fighting chance next time out in Sao Paulo, Josh. So Zach Swader is in P6, remains P6 currently, and he's certainly looking feisty, but Jack Tolchard has made a fantastic long-term overcut strategy, and when we said these people going long would benefit from the virtual safety cars, and it's put Jack Tolchard into P4 with a huge tyre advantage.
Yeah, it looks like those few laps under virtual safety car have played dividends, and yeah, Tolchard having a bit of a a great result here. Obviously had a very bad result last time out, and making the most of it now, as we see all of our championship rivals are really getting closer and closer together. Gareth Lennon perhaps being the only one outside of that, but yeah, very interesting to see what can happen here. And I was looking at that contact again that we saw as they come out onto the outfield, and it does cost you sort of 2 to 3 tenths in damage. You see actually a little bit of sort of cross correction there on the steering wheel, so obviously having some issues. And yeah, you can see Vrazlov there enters a 15-point lead. Pretty strong, but still stuff that can go awry. Vader obviously getting a few points there as well, so still all to play for in that regard. It will be a head-to-head for the final round, I think. Of course, at that stage, teammates come into play as well. We've obviously seen in the real world the difference that it can make when you've got a teammate who's able to hold up your rival or battle them a bit too hard. So yes, all to play for here, and both drivers and both teams probably looking to get the most out of this weekend to give them the best fighting foot forward for next weekend.
100%, and with the gap being a 15-point lead, if things finish as they stand, Josh, then that means Zach Swade will have a huge task, because it means he needs to finish on the podium to even be in the conversation. So Zach Swade needs a very good weekend to make sure he's in that top 3, and that's assuming Christian Vrazlov doesn't score. If we bring Christian Vrazlov even into the lower end of the top 10, then that could soon change to Zach Swade needs to win the race in order to win the championship. So Vrazlov has been doing everything right the second half of this season. Whilst it's not been a completely dominant, it hasn't been, you know, the likes of Kevin Jacobs in season 4 winning every single race in a small stint. It has been consistent, it's been podiums, and again, whilst the results don't mirror it, it feels very reminiscent of Sebastian Vettel in 2013, where he just came from the mid-season and completely reset. And wow, we've got an absolute medley of cars going on here as we go onto virtual safety car once more. Something else has happened on the circuit, and I think we have a car in the pits. It's Jonathan Carrero, who was battling in P number 5. He's come to a stop, Josh. What has happened here?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming out of the chicane there, and it looks like it's all running pretty smooth. So there's nobody around him, nothing causing any damage. I wonder if we're going to see another engine blowout. It looks like we are indeed. So, oh my goodness, yes, another engine blowout for another driver. These hotter temperatures, obviously here at the Roval, causing issues. The tires are one thing, but the engine's just constantly running at high revs, particularly on that outfield section. And Zach Swade is probably going to get a visor full of oil and flames very shortly. There it is. So probably to his advantage, as much as it's not nice to see anybody retire, but Zach will be taking that. Some free position past him there, and yeah, just a shame really for someone who's having quite a good race, kind of flying under the radar a little bit and just getting those consistent points, which, yeah, as we've said, you know, unless you have a run like Jacobs, you kind of just need that consistency of those points, and that can be what wins you the title at the end of the day.
So that will bump Zach Swader up into P5, of course. Let's just mention the championship for a moment. That will give Zach Swader an extra 2 points, and he'll take the fastest lap if things stay like this as well. So an extra 3 points, which will reduce that 15-point lead to just a 12-point lead. So again, it reduces that to Zach Swader now only would need to finish on 4th place to be in the conversation. So all of these calculations will be getting thought about, especially in the teams themselves, heading into Sao Paulo for the final round. But Zach Swader is doing a good job of damage limitation here, but Christian Vrazlov is looking very composed, and just as I say that, Christian Vrazlov has locked up and he's brushed against the barrier, and that's put him under a bit of pressure from Christopher Pettersson. There's a lot of mistakes that can happen into this dip. We've seen it time and time again here today. How will Vrazlov fare? And it's actually Pettersson going wide into that corner. Is he going to make a mistake coming off the exit? No, he grabs his composure and he gets underway, but this brings a Jack Tolchard with a tyre advantage into the conversation, and the Bulgarian and the Swede are still going hammer and tong, and Christian Vrazlov has a championship to think about. He has an open goal here against all of his title rivals. He can effectively eliminate 3 of them here today. He really needs to not make mistakes like that, Josh.
Absolutely, Pettersson's been very quick out that corner. We've seen so many drivers having issues, and of course, as he brings himself into the fray, he's going to be towing Jack along with him as well. So not only 1 but 2 cars for Vrazlov to consider, and of course Pettersson can really go for it here. There's no compromise to him if he has a bad result, whereas Vrazlov really is the one who has to be careful. You can see just how careful he's been off the chicane there, backing the field up, trying to give himself that space. And like you say, Toby, he can really make a mark on the championship today, Vrazlov, if he can just get those points secured. Canwell's kind of checked out at front, 1.8 to go there, and yeah, Vrazlov just needs to do what he can, get the car across the line. We've only got just over a lap and a bit to go, and yeah, very much all to play for. Vrazlov's going to be in his head. I'm sure the engineer's trying to keep him calm, but we might see a last minute dash from Pettersson. He's certainly had the run, like we said, out of this corner where so many drivers have struggled, and all it takes is one good move, one mistake from Vrazlov again, like we've seen creeping in, and there could be a change of positions on the podium.
Absolutely, as we just see on the side here, total victories per team as we look at Ed Cantwell leading the race for Team Disconnect. This could hand them their victory number 2. I think we will just slot them behind, tied with a few other drivers for 2 victories apiece, just behind WSR Sim Racing, who is no longer with us on the grid, but is here in spiritual as Zach Swerder, the former team owner, is driving for Northern Lights Racing and competing for the Drivers' Championship. So they're here, and that fighting spirit is still going on inside the number 17, but Christian Vrazilov is still pulling Christopher Pettersson along, and Jack Tolchard is not making as much of an impression as I thought he would, so he has the tyre advantage, but he just does not have the pace of these two, and Pettersson is looking mighty fast, but he just can't find the way to get through. He's running out of time. We come onto the oval for one last time as Ed Cantwell will be rapidly approaching the start-finish line. A valiant effort from Christopher Pettersson, but I think he's going to run out of time. Ed Cantwell, though, had it all under control today. Brilliant, composed, and led from pole. Momentarily went down after a mistake, but he rectified it in the pit stops, and off he went, and that was the end of it. Ed Cantwell wins the United States Grand Prix. Driver of the day does Douglas Anderson, who had a whopping climb from P17 on the grid to finish P7, really coming up big for ART DHL in their title battle against Beechwood, which will almost certainly be going their way this time next week in Sao Paulo. But Ed Cantwell wins, a brilliant performance in the USA, and Christian Vrazilov does what he needed to do. Zach Swerder manages to damage limitate here today, but I think we've just lost quite a lot of contenders, Josh, from that title battle.
Absolutely, a lot of characteristics mistakes coming through there, Toby, is what I was going to say. And yeah, Anderson having a great run there through this race, and he even needed to close down McDonald towards the end, so a really good result for him. Christopher Pettersson obviously had a good result today, 3rd place. Nemesis will be happy with that. And Ed Cantwell, a tale of 2 halves for him. I'm sure he'll be happy to get home after that race. A little bit damage on the suspension, but definitely pulled out the results. So yeah, certainly a brilliant race. The Roval never fails to disappoint, and great to see that it's going to cause some drama as we go into the final round.
Absolutely. So Ed Cantwell wins, a brilliant, dominant performance here from him today. Christian Vrazilov does what he needed to do to keep his championship firmly within his own grams and within his own hands. Sorry. Christopher Pettersson scores Nemesis Racing's first podium in considerable amount of time. Jack Tolchard has a performance that he wishes he would have had last time out in Toronto. Zach Swerder limits that damage though and picks up a P5, but he lost the fastest lap by the looks of things towards the end there, so it will only be a minor reduction on that point deficit. So Craig McDonnell actually has a fantastic race. It was actually Tom McDonnell in the top 10 for a long time, but Craig comes up trump there and finishes P6. We mentioned a great effort from Douglas Anderson to finish P7. Andrew Pavia scoring points in P8. Callum Spencer P9 picks up some points for JSR after a disappointing DNF for Carrera in the latter stages, and Reinhard Ecker picks up the final point available traditionally in the top 10, making it a good day top to bottom. It's a full Team Disconnect sandwich, Josh, in the top 10.
Absolutely. So Gareth Lennon there and Colin McAllister, the 2 CGM guys, having no points, but a pretty consistent result for them. Oliver Odfin obviously missing out earlier today. Kevin Jacobs does take the fastest lap in the end, so he gets a point there, which is great. Carrera obviously having that collision that we saw earlier on, which wasn't great. McDonald and Martin also struggling, and then we saw Toby Byrne obviously dipping it into the outside, which was not great there. So not a good result for Beechwood team, obviously not very happy with that one. Josh Woods and Philip Bloom also then rounding out the rest of the field. So plenty of kind of collisions and driver mistakes that just cause such an impact on the standings, and of course the drivers and the teams are both still at play, so it's a shame when you see that happen, because of course it does potentially spoil a championship battle. But I'm certain as we go into the final round, so we're going to see plenty of racing going on.
And this is what we see then going into the final round. Christian Vrazilov has 88 points. Zach Swerder has 75. So that is, like I say, it's around a 13-point gap going into the final round, which effectively does mean Zach Swerder needs to finish 3rd or higher to be in the conversation. The ball feels like it's very much in Christian Vrazilov's court. However, Zach Swerder, it's not impossible, Josh. Jack Tolchard, Ed Cantwell, Marcus Townend, Olaf Odven, Gareth Lennon, and even the bottoms of Tom McDonnell, Douglas Anderson, and Joshua Wood are all still very much fighting for best of the rest in that coveted P3 spot, and that's not a bad back-to-back defence. That's probably the best title defence we've seen from a driver in terms of Douglas Anderson throughout this championship, and ART still very much on form, Josh, to do the double and be the first team to win consecutive championships.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as we see a bit further down, obviously Byrne, Prevere, Ecker and Carrera all very close together as well. So even if the podium perhaps is where the main focus is, there's plenty of battling going on further down in the standings. And then of course see Christopher Peterson and Callum Spencer pretty close on points as well. Craig Evans perhaps not had the season he would have hoped, but still in a close proximity to the drivers ahead of him. And then Craig McDonald followed by the two Americans thereafter as well. So all it takes is a few mistakes and you can certainly climb up through the fields. And yeah, a lot of the teams trying to bank on it, as we obviously see there. Josh Martin and Colin McAllister having battle for the wooden spoons. So plenty of drama up and down the field, Toby.
Absolutely, it's been a crazy race as it always is in the ISR AIC, and it's set the title battle up to a 2-horse race. We were eliminated all other contenders outside of Christian Brazilov and Zach Sweder heading into the final round, and here is how things line up going into the final round for the team standings. ART DHL take a commanding lead following today's result. However, Northern Lights Racing has slipped up into P number 2 following Zach's return to form in the latter half of the series. They're not far away, but they're going to need the perfect result in Sao Paulo for things to go their way this season. Of course, they won the championship in season number 2, looking to try do it again. Team Disconnect have had a fantastic return to form, putting themselves up into P3 after spending most of the season in the latter half. And as we said, Beechwood having potentially their worst weekend on record with a double DNF. Then it's JR1, they are just behind with P5, ahead of NA Nissan in P number 6. And then we have the likes of Simstaff, Macca Motorsport, CGM, West JSR and Nemesis Racing rounding off the end. So lots of tight battles. We actually have P7, 8, 9 and 10 all tied on the same points. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend, I'm sure, heading into the final round in Sao Paulo, Josh. We have a 2-horse race at the front for the Drivers' Championship, and we have a few names in there for the Constructors. So there's a lot to settle, and the stakes have reached a boiling point.